Welcome back, Helldivers. This is 50 plus tips, tricks, and weird things about Helldivers to take you from a noob to a pro. It's probably everything I know about the game after about 50 hours. I'm sure there is stuff I am missing, so if you spot anything, let me know. If anything's incorrect, also let me know. And if you get to the end of this video and you don't learn anything, well then what are you doing here? We are losing the war against the robots and we need you on the fields right now defending Super Earth. We're going to cover things from movement tech, combat, specific enemies, equipment, maps, etc. If you want to skip ahead, you can use the chapters below. Let's get into it. Okay, starting with movement, you can jump from higher heights by using a stim before you jump. The stim does like healing over time, and so by the time your back is broken, you'll be mended again and you can just get up and walk it off. The jetpack allows you to reload mid-air, even with weapons like the machine gun that would normally pin you stationary, so you can jetpack and reload. Jetpack also allows you to open your stratagem, so you can jetpack, open your stratagem, punch in the code, and basically be ready to roll with the stratagem. You can shoot behind, as long as you don't aim. If the weapon is single-handed, you can actually fire behind yourself. This also applies to primary weapons like the SMGs. You can just shoot them behind yourself. Other weapons that require two hands will make you spin around and you will lose valuable speed. You can also go into the settings option and put reticle on always, and that way you can see where you're aiming behind yourself. The other thing you can do with stratagems, if you're on mouse and keyboard and you're having a hard time punching in the codes whilst running, is change your stratagem list to a press, which will open up the list. And then I changed my up, down, left, right to actually the arrow keys. I press the button, open the list, I then take my hand off the mouse and then I can use the arrow keys. This way I can actually keep on running when I'm in a tight pinch, and I can use stratagems on the run rather than staying still. I don't know if this is an issue for controller, you have to let me know. If you or the enemy shoot spores, it will send you flying. If you're in a good position, you can use it to escape the enemy. Or in my case, most of the time, I just get flung straight back into the enemy and die instantly. You can actually slide in this game by running and then crouching. It seems useless, I guess. Right, let's talk about combat. If you see a patrol, you don't always have to engage patrols, especially once you start getting to higher difficulties. You actually really want to avoid patrols because a lot of enemies, a lot of armored enemies, and even like bile titans can spawn from patrols. So you just kind of leave them alone. If you do attack them, you want to attack them as quick as possible and prevent a bug breach. You can sort of tell when they're doing a bug breach. They stick their butts in the air and they start waving this orange stuff out. You want to kill them before that orange flare comes out. It's the same with the robots. They actually just shoot like a red flare. So if you see a patrol, either avoid it or nuke it as quick as possible, especially for the harder difficulties. Bug holes can be closed with lots of different weapons and support tools, not just grenades. You can use rockets, you can use grenade launchers, you can even use the autocannon. You've got to be aiming a little bit towards the base of it, but you can use the autocannon to blow up bug holes as well. The autocannon is also extremely good at taking out outposts from a distance. You just shoot straight into the little red zone and you'll get a kill on the outposts in the robo maps. If you're out of everything, you can use a last resort and just literally chuck in a support item. This includes friends and allies. Anything comes down in a drop pod will actually blow up the bug hole, and it even works on the robo dudes. Of course, as you drop in, you can also drop in on enemies and do some pretty big damage. It's a risk versus reward though, especially if you drop onto a bile titan. Okay, weak spots for automatons. They are often like a grill behind the vehicle, in this case a tank, that you can blow up. My preference in general for automatons is to use the auto cannon. It seems really good at taking out a lot of different automatons. Here's me taking out a tank at range with an auto cannon. Like I said, you'll notice the weak spot on the back of many of the units with the little light up grill. Just target that to do some big damage. Talking about weak spots, as the ship flies in, you can shoot rockets and I also think grenades at the engine, and the whole thing will crash to the ground. This is really useful in higher levels. Do you keep getting killed by your turret? You can lie down on top or just stand on top of your turret, and that way you'll never get friendly fired. Don't bother running away from grenades from automatons. You can just easily throw them back at your enemy. Now be sure to only use this on friends, but you can melee friends for a very funny exchange. Melee them off an edge, but be mindful though, they might get some revenge as you do an epic extract. Always throw down some sort of ordnance as you extract for additional cool points. Right, let's talk environment. Many of you know this, but if you see the spore spewers, you can take them out from distance with rockets. You can even take them out with just like your primary weapon. Just keep shooting them. And when you destroy the spore spewer, which is these like trees that are putting spore everywhere, you actually clear the fog from the map. In this scenario, I just use my shotgun. Some side objectives will require you to use a terminal, but you don't have to. This illegal broadcast side objective, you can actually just shoot this tower with rockets, with grenades. You could go overkill like I did here and call in an airstrike on it, and you'll actually complete the side mission very, very quickly. Talking about completing side missions quickly, the artillery battery, you can just transfer all the shells straight to where the opening is before accessing the terminal. As soon as you access the terminal, I'm pretty sure it spawns in enemies. So go find all the shells, put them right near the entry of the artillery battery, and then turn on the terminal, put them all in, and you'll complete the side mission instantly. Another thing to note is that these shells are different. Like sometimes they'll be explosive, sometimes they'll be static, sometimes they'll be a mini nuke. Be very mindful if you find a mini nuke. They obviously are fantastic, but be careful of friendly fire. On higher levels, be on the lookout for this structure here, this weird bulbous rock. It spawns the samples, the super samples, which is the highest tier samples that you need. Every time I've found this, I have found 5 or 6. Like I found almost the max number of super samples around it. Back to a bit of information on side missions. When you find this antenna tower, the radar station, this will reveal all the points of interest on the map. You can do it by yourself. You'll hear an audible beep when you get the radar station in the right direction. If you are hunting samples and you've used a radar station to unlock all the points of interest on the map, the ones that are undiscovered will be a diamond shape, and the other ones that you have already looted will be like a pin drop. However, sometimes I think it's a bit buggy and it doesn't always record that you've got everything, or maybe you can't collect everything there, but it is a good indication of what you have and haven't done on the map. I'm sure many of you have seen this in previous tips and tricks videos, but if you see a sea container, always throw a grenade or use some explosives, blow off the door, and you'll get a bunch of goodies in there from support items or medals or requisition slips, or even I think the shop currency. Here's a nice fun fact. Those are beacons that say salute to open. If you press E on it, you actually will just open it, but you can just open it by saluting. Just use your emote and it will pop open. Is this useful? I don't think so. You still have to be quite close. Just some basic map knowledge here. Open the map. If you're on PC, you right click and you can move around and pin things. If you're on control, I'm sure you can do the same thing. Just have a look at the bottom right hand corner for the control scheme, and you actually open your map, move it around, pin to where you need to go. I didn't know this for like, I don't know, 20, 30 hours. These are actually bombs. If you see a dead charger that you didn't kill, it's got like a mini nuke on it, and it's fantastic if you can draw some enemies to it and blow it up. If you see these broken drop pods, always shoot them to blow them up, and inside you can get a support weapon or just general support items. Like this time I got a guard dog. If you're playing the automatons and wondering why you don't have your eagle strikes, these anti-air areas is like a side objective, and they get rid of or they disable your eagle strike. So take them out and you'll have it returned to you. Often with some side objectives, you'll be given a hell bomb, so always check your stratagems. You can actually place down a hell bomb to blow it up. It's often the side objectives that are like destroy the SAM site or destroy the rogue research station. You can check, you'll have a hell bomb in your menu and you can place it and blow it up. I often found I was lost on these really quick maps to seal the bug holes, and then someone told me check your map. For this map specifically, that the darkened areas is actually where all the bug holes are. I'm sure the map probably reveals more to it than we know so far, so I'm going to keep an eye on this to see what other things you can get from the map. Right, let's talk enemy specific strategies, starting with the charger. This is the thing that's going to cause you the most grief when you first start Helldivers. The biggest thing that changed my strategy with the chargers is don't dive. I was always diving out the way and kept getting caught. It can work, but I actually find it much more consistent just to jog slowly, and when they get a little bit closer, start sprinting, cut the corner, and then you can get behind them to hit their weak spot, which is their bottom at the back. Autocannon does a fair bit of damage to it. It's not the most effective strategy. I'm going to talk about the most effective strategies, but if you don't have access to a lot of equipment yet, If you blow up that weak spot, don't shoot them anymore. They will actually just bleed out and they'll fall over and die. You've basically finished the battle once their butt explodes. Right, here's a better strategy. If you have the railgun or a friend with a railgun, you can take out their front leg. And in fact, I actually don't think you just need the railgun. I think you just need explosives. So if you target a leg and then everyone can shoot the leg once the armor is off, leg will explode, charger now dead. If you're getting really sick of charges, this is not a super effective strategy. However, it's very fun. Put on a flamethrower and cook it. The flamethrower looks so good. This was very therapeutic to get rid of these guys this way. I don't think it's the most effective, but it is a lot of fun. Early on versus charges, this is what I did. I used a jump pack over them, which looks super cool. Get behind them and kaplami. The railgun is easily my favorite tool at the moment. If you shoot a charger with the railgun, you actually stun them and they'll do this little slide. If you shoot them enough times, their head just literally explodes. And talking about exploding heads, the railgun is super effective on bile tines. You can stop their spew if you hit them with the railgun. I don't know if it's just the railgun. It's probably explosives in general. I imagine if you shoot them with a rocket, that it might interrupt their spew as well. And I think it's like 3 or 4 shots with overcharge and they're dead. Right, let's talk interactions. If you hold the reload button, you get a lot of different options for different guns. Like for example, the machine gun actually has a different RPM that you can change to. Always check what options you have when you pick up and play with a new gun. Some of them can be extremely powerful. Like I mentioned before, the railgun actually has a safe mode and an unsafe mode. Right, there's a drop menu button, so you can drop your backpacks in case you pick up something someone else's. You can even drop samples. A really interesting thing to do with samples on higher difficulties is you can drop your samples at the extraction point. That way, if your team gets separated and you don't have to backtrack to try and pick up samples, they'll be right where you need them at the extraction point. If you don't have a microphone in, there is a ping system. You can just tap it to ping a location, but if you hold it down, you also bring up a communications menu where you can say sorry, need supplies, thanks, etc. Right, let's talk about menus. I completely missed this. There is in fact a day and night cycle for this game. It's obvious now that I see it. Depending on which part of the globe you are, it looks a little bit dark and that's night. And if you're on the other side and where the sun is, it's day. And also there's a tiny little symbol next to your marker that shows a moon or a sun, meaning it's a day or a night mission. However, the day-night cycle continues once you're in the game, so you can go in at nighttime and the sun come up, or vice versa, and it will change. Something else that took me a while to notice is there is an effects or like these modifiers on each map. You'll see on this one, there is a weapons experimentation and you actually get incendiary mines all the time as a stratagem. There's also an environmental condition where you get rainstorms, which is reduced visibility. And there's also an operation modifier, and this one interferes with your stratagems. Some of them can be a real pain in the butt. Like I've had ones that limit your stratagem slot by 1. So you get 1 less stratagem slot. So you always check the effects on the higher difficulties. Right, we should talk about missions and how you pass the missions, because it feels very counterintuitive in when you die, but you still actually pass the mission. The only thing you need to do for missions is actually complete the main objectives. As long as you do that, if your whole team is wiped, you actually still will pass it and you won't lose the operation. Remember that you got to complete the missions in the operation to get bonuses. So if you are operating a little bit higher levels and you don't think you might make it, just beeline it to the main objectives. Don't worry about your optionals or doing outposts, any of that. Just do your main objectives and at least you'll get that win. Similarly, people kind of freak out with the timer in the top right hand corner. When that timer is up, you don't actually fail the mission, you just lose access to your stratagems. That includes your reinforce, so there's no more spawning after that, there's no more resupplies, there's no more orbital strikes, there's nothing. So you do need to be kind of getting out at that time, but also I think people freak out a little bit too much. That timer is more of a suggestion of when you should be leaving. Right, this one took me a little bit of time to notice as well. I only thought that you could look at your stratagems in your like loadout menu before you go into the map. You actually can click on equipment. So if you're playing with someone else and they pull you through into the hellport and you're not quite ready, you can change your weapons, you can change your armor still. It's R on keyboard and mouse, and then you obviously can select all your stratagems too. Here's a nice useless tip for you. When someone leaves your party, it says that they returned to civilian life. However, if you kick them from your party, it says that they have been court-martialed. All right, let's talk about equipment. Now, there are some weapons that have a separate supply of ammo, like the recoilless rocket and the rocket itself. When you call these weapons in, it'll actually have two sides to the drop pod. One will be the rocket and one will be the supply pack. If you can put them both on yourself and reload your own rockets. Similarly, you can do that same thing with the autocannon. You can reload your own autocannon. However, you can have a second person that picks up the supplies and reloads your stuff for you. And if they do it, it is quicker. As you've likely noticed, stratagems can be stuck to enemies. However, the red stratagems won't actually track. It'll be the initial point that it landed on the map, and that will be the focus point. However, blue stratagems, I think just like in general, friendly stratagems will track. Right, let's talk armor. There is light, medium, and heavy armor. They have different stats, the armor rating, the speed, and the stamina. As far as I'm aware, I believe that the armor rating is bugs for like heavy. It doesn't seem like it is working to have a higher armor rating. You seem to take the same amount of hits as a light armor. I think right now the best strategy is still to have light armor and then pick the light armor that has the best armor passive. These are buffs on the right hand side. The buffs do a whole bunch of different stuff. They can give you increased stims, they can increase your throwing range, they can increase your accuracy. There is even one that has a 50% chance to not die when taking lethal damage. Right, if you go outside of the map, you get a return to combat zone, and if you don't return to the combat zone in that time, you actually will become a traitor and the ships above you will start bombarding you. You can use that to take out enemies. However, it will not stop until you are dead. I'm not too sure what happens if you get to your ship whilst being a traitor, if it allows you to extract or not. You have to let me know down below if you've done it. Right, when holding stratagems, use them as quick as possible. If you take a tumble, like falling off a cliff or getting knocked to the ground, you will actually drop it, which often ends in your own death. Always check your stratagem cooldowns. For example, if you have a jump pack and you haven't lost your jump pack yet and your jump pack's back up, you can throw one down for your teammate. This applies to this applies to everything. So if you don't need it and your friend has a spare spot, or if they're a lower level, you can drop equipment for them as well. Right, there seems to be either some hidden stats or a bug. For example, these weapon, the SMG and the revolver, both say in the description they have light armor penetration. However, the SMG ricochets off this bug and then the revolver goes straight through it. Don't know. Right, here's the railgun in safe and unsafe mode. In safe mode, you can just hold the left trigger the whole time and it won't blow up. In unsafe mode, you'll see the little charge bar will get further and further, and eventually, if you keep holding it down, it will explode, it will kill you, and it will destroy the gun. And what I mean by that is when you spawn back in, you actually won't be able to find the weapon. You won't be able to pick it up again like you can with other equipment. It is blown up, it is gone. You have to wait for your stratagem to be off cooldown and call back in another railgun. I'm assuming that the increased charge, the unsafe mode, just does more damage. I don't know if there's like hidden perks with it, like it over penetrates or it has a increased crit chance or something like that. At the moment, it just seems to output more damage, which makes it incredibly effective against Bile Titans. It probably is my favorite weapon to take out armored units and Titan units like this. You just aim for the head, charge it up, and they're dead before they even get to you. Right, talking about my other favorite support item, the shield generator is huge. It's not quite obvious what I did there, but shooting these things with the shield on, I actually don't go flying. I take it off and then shoot the pods, I go flying. This is crazy. This thing, the description sounds like it only blocks bullets, but it doesn't. It blocks melee, it blocks other CC, like slows, like if you get hit by poison or whatever normally, it will slow you down. This blocks it. You don't get stunned, you don't get poisoned, you can keep running. It is incredibly powerful. I would highly recommend prioritizing unlocking that backpack when you can. And the railgun, they're probably my two favorite stratagems right now. Right, let's end on something that seems completely useless, but it's so good that it's in the game. I think it adds to the atmosphere. Rocket launchers have backblast. Don't stand behind someone using a rocket launcher. I have even more tips and tricks, but I just couldn't log on to get footage. It's the weekend here in Australia and the servers are being slammed. A couple of other things I'll just mention. Cooking grenades, fantastic. Cook your grenades before you throw them. Don't hold on to them for too long because you will blow yourself up. Supply, so when you have like the rocket launcher supplies, like the recoilless rocket or the auto cannon, when you pick up supplies, it will refill them too. Other thing is, if you have the supply backpack, you can press 5 on keyboard and mouse. Once again, sorry, I can't log on to look at what the settings are. It's 5 on keyboard and mouse. I don't know what it is on controller. But if you have the supply back, normally you give it to other people. However, if you press 5, you actually give supplies to yourself, which is pretty huge. There you go. Did you learn anything, my professional Helldivers? If you did, a like and comment would be greatly appreciated. And if not, why are you watching this video for? Give it a dislike. Go fight the robots, maybe recruit some more Helldivers and share this video so we can get some people up to speed. Thanks for watching. And if you'd like to support the channel, can I think of a comment? You can have the word Helldivers. As usual, it's been a pleasure. This is Myelin Games. Peace.